We've applied the settings you requested.
So, hi everyone, this is Kaz. I just want to show you a quick tip in Photoshop that you can make if you have a landscape oriented picture. If you have a graphic like this, for example, there's a feature in Photoshop that you can, if you need a portrait mode picture, so if you need to convert a landscape oriented, it can be a photo, it can be an illustration. It doesn't work 100% of the time. I'm using a picture from Twitch blog, but you know, you might use like your own. This is for personal use. I want to include a logo on my flow page, basically a collection of all the links that I use for my social media apps. So it's pretty easy to expand this. This is called a canvas, right? The kind of thing behind the layer that's the default layer, which we can make just layer by itself. We don't need the background layer for this graphic. So then you would go to, we would select everything. So a quick command would be to Command A, and that selects everything. Make sure you have the rectangular marquee tool selected for this, so you can press M, and then press Command A to select everything, and then we're gonna turn on content aware scale. But before we do that, we need to expand the canvas. So the canvas, let's make it the same height as the width. So there we go, there's our new canvas. And then there's also a quick command to select just the active pixels. So we don't want to select the transparent pixels. We can press Command and hold Command, and you see the cursor has turned into this this kind of icon. That's actually going to turn on another feature that is useful. Privacy, accessibility, zoom. So press Command to hold under the pointer. Okay. There we go. I can do it picture in picture. That's easier. So now, yeah, you can see. So now, why does it increase the cursor there? Split screen. Yeah, full screen. There we go. So you can see the icon, the layer thumbnail is basically, when you hold Command, it turns into selection key. So when you click on that, you might have noticed that the Marquee Tool has selected just the pixels that are active, so they're not they're used, right? The transparent pixels were ignored essentially. So that's what we want. And then if you want, you can just select a portion of the picture that you want to expand. So if you want to expand like just this part, that would be okay too. And then I'm gonna reselect the image that I'm gonna use, and we're gonna go to top menu, select Edit, and we're gonna use Content Aware Scale. So check this out. When I'm starting to drag, you see something weird is happening. It's not a typical resize. It's stretching in a different way than that you're probably used to when you're scaling images, right? So this is probably not what we want, right? We want more kind of consistency. So let's tweak the amount a little bit more. So already looks a bit more like the original, but also we can protect a specific area. So instead of stretching out their area as we just did and creating this kind of stretched out image, we can just go back. Let's actually duplicate the layer. I did this by dragging the layer on top of new layer icon. You can also right click and select duplicate layer, and that's gonna create a copy of the layer that you have selected. And then I'm gonna create a mask actually. So to create a mask, you need to there's multiple ways, but the easiest way is to turn on the quick mask tool, which is located right here, and you see the screen has switched into a new mode because the transparent pixels that we had just turned into pink, right? So that shows you that's working. And then we're gonna have the gradient tool selected. Actually, let's select elliptical marquee tool, right? Because we want to keep this region active. We don't necessarily want the rest of the image, right? So we want to select the part that we want to preserve for the image. So we just want to make this just a little bit bigger than the actual frame of the image. So just about that. And then we want to make this a mask, so we're gonna press on the mask icon here, but before that I'm gonna save the selection, and we're gonna actually there should be an option here, add transparency mask. So that actually didn't work. Let's go back, subtract, no, let's do undo. With Photoshop, it's amazing because everything command you can undo. So if you mess it up, don't be too worried about that. I'm gonna switch to our thumbnails. I'm a visual person. I like to see more intersect. Yeah, so nothing is working. Let's do. So yeah, we saved this mask as a layer mask. So now the actual image that we have is just the cropped out version of this. This image that we were using before. So now what we want to do, we want to actually go back and have the mask selected, so same command as we used before. Go back to the original layer. I'm gonna create another copy, so I'm gonna right click and click on duplicate layer, just as a different way. You can name your layers. I find it sometimes it gets in the way. You're doing more work organizing, but since I'm using this tutorial, I want to show the best practices for this. So I want to make sure that whoever's watching, you're aware that sometimes it helps to organize the layers. Okay, so now let's go back to content or scale, and what's gonna happen now, we're gonna have to select the quick mask as a mask, and no, nothing is happening. Okay, how do we do this? Quick mask. Yeah, we have to turn off quick mask mode, so have the same thing selected, just without the quick mask mode, and it should work. Let's try this again. So now we're gonna because we're working on the mask instead of the actual text. Actually, let's try filling in with the color. So we're gonna select rectangular tool. So we're gonna select this fragment, and we're gonna include the transparent portion of this fragment as well. So we're gonna click on, and basically the point is to simplify the workflow, not make a lot of manual work. So content over fill, and we're gonna, you see it's already starting to fill in the blanks, right? But there's there's an issue happening here at the top of the screen, so we're gonna tweak that part, but the rest of the image looks amazing. You see it used the machine learning to figure out the image colors and stuff. So we're just gonna turn on adaptation. Let's do very high. There we go, it's almost there. Let's sample all layers. Just has access to other information as well. So you see already it's doing so much better. And then auto. Let's do rotation, adaptation, roll. Yeah, it's causing unintended results, which I kind of like the effect that it provides. You know, sometimes we want to play around with the tool and we don't really want to use it in a predictable manner. So for this tool, maybe I'm trying to be more experimental. You see, I'm trying different options, and I'm finding the one that looks very aesthetically pleasing. So I like the rotation adaptation function, because it creates those kind of curves that we don't see there in the original graphic. So you can also turn on scale. So you see it's already becoming interesting. I still don't like this area right here. So we're gonna see what we can do. Maybe when I turn on mirror, it will work. Still not a huge fan. So let's turn on color adaptation maybe. There we go. It's back to the original colors of the Twitch and not mutating. So I actually like this one. Let's try. I don't care. Color adaptation. I like this one. I like this one. Let's do this one. No, I don't like this one. There we go. I like the kind of curve, but it also there's like a point of interest there. There we go. So we're gonna output this to a new layer, so we can switch. We can say this. So I like this. How this looks. We'll just move it down a bit more so it's aligned. There we go. Sometimes you need to tweak the alignment. So I'm gonna change the opacity a bit more, so I can connect the lines in a way that makes sense to me more. And I'm gonna right click, so I press Command T to turn on the transformation menu. And you can also right click and click on free transform. And I'm gonna actually use the warp tool, because I want points. I want to be able to control specific points. So you see, as I'm dragging, it's connecting to specific areas of the image that I need. So we can do this. Yeah, I can see how. So now you can create such creative effects as you're seeing right now on my screen. I'm gonna connect. Let's connect this here, maybe. So it gives you more precise alignment of individual pieces of the image. And I'm not gonna worry about the kind of connection too much, because this is just a tutorial. But this is kind of the idea I had. Maybe I'll add a drop shadow to this also. And then I like to make distance very wide and spread size very big. So it creates this nice kind of depth effect, right? So we can play with the distance a bit more. Let's make it actually more opaque, so it appears darker on the image. And you see it creates this kind of nice darkening effect. Maybe let's do another color. Let's do can see it creates like a highlight on that part of the image. You can make it wider also, or use like overlay to make interesting color combinations. Or now, right now we're mixing different. We're mixing the same colors in a different kind of pattern. So I kind of like this kind of bluish tint. Let's try something else. Let's actually try like purple, pinkish, or like bluish. Let's do bluish. People are attracted to blue because it's the color of the sky. We always, especially when we're inside. So you can use blue also to highlight, and then I'm gonna increase the opacity of the higher layer to 100%. So not the most like cleanest work probably I've done. I'm sure that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna you can just expand this bottom part. So let's stretch this out. And then we're gonna add a shadow to the bottom part as well, so it can cover the. Actually, doesn't have to cover, but I'm gonna add more depth to the picture and add a bottom. And I want to also duplicate this layer. So I'm gonna duplicate. Actually, before that, we can create a smart object. So smart object basically means then when we're editing this, we're editing the copy that we can still have access, so you can still go back and edit. But if you want to edit multiple pictures, that should save you a lot of time in like instead of using stamps, for example, or stamp tool, and just copying the same information. So I'm gonna rotate this, and I'm gonna actually enter minus 180 degrees. Oh my god. Move back here. This looks kind of crazy, but I think it's fun. I'm gonna scale it back a bit more. Like say we're creating art, we're not worried about how people are perceiving this. I quite like this actually. I hope you do too. Anyway, and we're actually gonna flip the this part of the image, so it's more flip horizontal. There we go. So it's more symmetrical visually. And then the last part, we're gonna add drop shadow to the Twitch logo. So very similar style to the one before. We're gonna reproduce the distance. So we want this to be right below the logo, and not the logo, this kind of cutout. We can also add a little bit of I think instead of drop shadow, let's make it smaller first. Let's see how that looks. Like less opaque. Yeah, let's do a smaller logo. See how it's kind of bringing the attention a bit more. And let's do like this. Yeah, I like this. Maybe let's do also a little bit of a glow, just to add that kind of visual component to it. There we go. I think I like more the glow more compared to the shadow. That kind of helps it stand out more, be more three-dimensional. We can also add emboss and just do a very, very subtle shape that's not. This kind of reminds me of early iOS icons when, almost like Skittles commercials. Emboss. There's different types of styles that you can play around with, different emboss levels. Stroke emboss, just emboss, outer bevel. I think inner bevel is the most commonly used one. and you're gonna play around with depth. So we're gonna just do a tiny bit of depth. You see how it changes the image a bit more, it makes it more three-dimensional. And what we're gonna do, we're actually gonna save this style, and we're gonna save all of the effects, and we're gonna save that as candy. So now when we go to this layer, we can just double click, and then styles, and there's our style, right? So we can select our style, and then we can do the same to the other layer. So now we basically created kind of more interesting version of the Twitch Pride logo, and you can still like all of the effects are not like baked in, so you can kind of go and play around with it more. Like you can resize. I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna resize the Twitch logo, make it a bit more bigger. You can still do that. You still have that flexibility because we used for the upper and body and bottom part we use the smart object. For this one we can also convert this to a smart object, and that way we can create multiple copies of the same object and still be able to create edit one copy and make it have an impact on the other copies. So for example, let's add a blur effect to this one. Let's add Gaussian blur, probably not as extreme. Let's do maybe like 20 pixels, right? So there's it was the distinction in mind, and then we save, and as I go back you see it has changed for both the upper and bottom part, so that gives you more kind of control over how you present the image, or it makes it a bit easier to make edits to the image if there's multiple repeating parts, which you should always be trying to simplify the composition and use as many repeating elements as you can, which is my kind of idea for minimalism. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you watched until the end, that's amazing. So yeah, thank you for listening also, I guess. Thank you. Bye.